All right, good evening, everyone across the North Florida area. Welcome to another edition of the Extra Point. I'm Mark Adams. I'm here with Coach Cofield and Eddie Quinkers Jr. Our boy Andrew Jupe has a night off. We wish him well. We'll see him next week. But yeah, this is oh man, I don't think there are very many ways you can lose the bye week, but man, fam, you got they got an additional bye week because the game got canceled. The what would have been the inaugural Georgia kickoff class. Let me go ahead and get my screen up. Coach, you keep an eye on the MLB playoffs out the corner of your eye.
Yeah.
Little baseball on the football show. Um, man, let's talk about this. So FAMU was supposed to play Mississippi Valley State in Atlanta.
Delta Devils.
We travel well. We'd have gone there, like no problem. But I'm used to seeing like Tennessee State. That's the game they need to bring back. But I always thought it was a head scratcher. Why would Mississippi Valley do this? Didn't really make too much sense. But they moved forward with it. And in the summertime is really when you want to get stuff nailed down. They didn't really have a whole lot of communication about this game. Kind of made some people nervous. Coach, you and I have been in this situation. We know all the ongoings behind the scenes. I know it was some phone calls being had last weekend about this game.
Man, it's a game like this. I mean, I'm not gonna pick on one side or the other because FAMU is my school. So, but when I saw that game, Mississippi Valley, I'm like, man, nobody getting excited to go up there to see that. And FAMU people probably would have showed up, but it wasn't a great. It wasn't. It wasn't nothing to get excited about. And to play it in Mississippi Valley, I don't think they have that. I don't know the financial setting, but it seemed like they'd have made more money if they played at home. And playing on the road, it costs to play in them stadiums. Me and you know that we have leased a couple of stadiums and we know how it is. It's all the stuff that go with it. It's easier to play at home, and I was surprised. I wasn't surprised that they had an issue. I wasn't because I heard rumblings weeks ago about this game that they probably wasn't going to play it. There was some issues, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah. It started up a lot of controversy with, for fans to wonder. There are some classics, in my opinion, that make sense and some that don't. And like just not too long ago last week, the Circle City Classic, you guys heard about that in Indianapolis, where it was only 3,000 in attendance for Morgan State versus, I think it was, who was it? Miles College or Adrian College? One of the, 3,000 in attendance to a 70,000, seating capacity stadium. Like, you mean to tell me you couldn't find a better matchup for that? And I think that's what this example is right here of the Georgia Classic being canceled. It's like FAMU's going to travel, but Mississippi Valley State's fan base is it's unshoring.
We live in the landscape now, and I this is coming from, the Iron Bowl was played in Birmingham. Like that was, Arkansas had 2 or 3 games in Little Rock. That was like a home away from home. Green Bay used to play 2 or 3 games in Milwaukee. Like the history of football just has changed to where so much money has been poured into the venue, the land, and then the surrounding communities around the venue. It's not just the stadium anymore. So I can see why teams want to host. I remember when they moved the Iron Bowl to a home and home, that was like a huge deal because, Alabama and Auburn fans, that's like, man, you draw a line in the sand.
Well, Mark, didn't they try to Georgia and Florida at one time was going toward playing a home?
They were moving. Yeah. They still are. They're still having those discussions because millions of dollars have gone into Sanford Stadium. Millions of dollars have gone into Ben Hill Griffin. So it's like it makes sense that you want to get people back on your campus, but it is weird because those are like the big classic games. Like you go to the Bayou Classic, like that's not something you remove, but a lot of other schools are moving back from it because it doesn't make sense. It would have made way more sense for Valley and for FAMU to have that as a home and home. Take that money, put it back into your athletic program. Don't the destination games, if they haven't already been established, then I don't think it makes sense anymore because you're to me, college football has gotten larger and smaller at the same time. It's larger because there's more schools, but it's smaller because you have the regional aspect of college football is just going out the window. You can fly anywhere you want to now on Spirit for like, $65. You can go see Iowa and Iowa State play if you wanted to. Every game is broadcast. You can see it on YouTube every Saturday. So the landscape has gotten a lot smaller. And a lot of these classes, man, they just don't make sense anymore because you're relying on ticket prices when everything's digital now.
Yeah. And to me, originally, I grew up with the thought of a classic is playing your main arch rival. For example, FAMU, Bethune-Cookman, that is in Orlando, the Florida Classic. The Bayou Classic, Southern and Grambling State in the Caesars Palace Superdome. That is, and even North Carolina A&T and North Carolina Central, the Aggie Eagle Classic, they've had it back home and home. But
yeah,
they've even
used Bank
America. Yeah,
they tried it in Charlotte one year, and it didn't work. It didn't work. And that you got to go where your alumni base is because those are the people who are going to buy the most tickets. And it's weird now because it's just like, nah, you don't, man. Most people they want to watch the game, they want to see the matchup, but taking the trip at arguably, and if you got kids, it's the middle of the school year. That can be hard, especially when you're already going to homecoming. You're already going to the, it's not the same anymore. And I do think FAMU would have definitely turned out if it was Tennessee State, but that's because it's an established game that could be brought back. I see both sides, but it's just, man, the landscape is different. And if it were me, I'd err on the side of let's keep the money on campus. Not a whole lot to say about the other picture. Miami came in, they saw, they conquered. You Hurricane fans, salute you. Wear it for the next year. There's still a scenario where FSU can still secure a playoff spot. Season isn't over. There's still a scenario where they could still be in the ACC championship race, although that will be determined this weekend. So season still got a long way to go. It's only week number 6 in college football. So, but man, Florida State, and for a moment, it looked like the rally capsule's out. It looked like it might happen in, just not enough time on the board. I felt like Gus Malzahn should have pulled out some of them tricks maybe in the first half.
Well, Marcus, I think Miami was a little too fast, a little too quick, and it gave Florida State some of the plays that they had explosive plays they just didn't get in the first half, and when you have to go the length of the field, inch by inch, yard by yard, it is difficult to score, and Miami defense put Florida State's offense in check, and they also kept the quarterback in check, which was a big deal because he's a game breaker. And when he's not making those explosive plays, it's hard for them to score. The game turned out pretty good. It turned out okay, though. I mean,
the offensive line still looked a little where Miami did, hey, they got dudes, but
that's an NFL front. That's an NFL defensive front.
Yeah.
You're playing against NFL guys, future NFL guys.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, in this game, it's been frustrating the past 2 games now, seeing Florida State just play so sloppy and like receivers and running backs having a tough time controlling and protecting the football. Questionable play calling by Gus, like going for it on that 4th and 8, which I found to be very ridiculous. And then the result of that was a bombed touchdown pass by good old Carson. And I mean, I appreciate the rally that Florida State did put some fight into it, just like they did against Virginia, but it was sloppy in doing so in both times. And now all of a sudden you find the rhythm and you're coming back, but that should have been established and done at the beginning of the game. And now you're going into this week with a lot of intensity and a lot of questioning because, yes, Florida State still has a chance at the ACC championship appearance, but you're going to need a help from a lot of the ACC. Several teams who you don't play need to lose one or two. Duke and Georgia Tech being two of those schools who are currently doing really good right now. You don't play them, and you're playing Pittsburgh this week at noon. And even that game is now questionable.
Now a critical game.
It is because you like Florida State. You look at it being 1-9 in their last ACC matchups, and as of right now, gentlemen, it's sad to say that the win against Alabama is now not done. It doesn't mean anything anymore because the rest of the college football universe still sees you as that 2-10 team from a year ago. So Florida State, this is a very crucial game this Saturday.
I still give Mike Norvell a lot of credit for being able to come out of the gates when he made the necessary adjustments. I don't think people should be showing him the door necessarily, but I do know that the rest of the season is definitely still long. So
and I'm not going to say.
Hopefully, it stays intact and the bottom doesn't fall out.
I was not saying that. I was just simply saying like something has to change. Something's got to give because because we can't continue to see this.
But you guys think about before the season, before the Alabama game, 3-2 looked pretty good.
Yeah, I think
they look pretty good. Think about it because you'd have thought you were going to lose to Alabama, maybe Miami, and you would win the other games. It looked pretty good. The sketch, they still could win 9-10 games if they win the rest of the season. It's a great season ahead. And at the beginning of the year, if you'd have saw this, you'd have been like, man, because I talked to a couple of fans, and they would be excited before the victory at Alabama. The record looked real good. Looked like they could do a lot of stuff. Now, you're disappointed because you beat Alabama and you lost to Virginia and Miami, and you were talking about playoffs. Now you just you hope you can get to the championship game.
It's a lot of hope, and I think the season is still salvageable for Florida State, but there's a lot of trap games, a lot of questionable games, even on the road at Clemson and at Raleigh and NC State later on down the year. So there's a lot that could go either way for this team. I just hope that it turns into what I said in the beginning, a bounce back season. Whatever that looks like, I don't know. So I'm still hopeful for that.
A winning season would be great, because if you go 2-10, that's terrible. If you come back the next season and win like 8-9 games, that's a great turnaround because it'll help recruiting the next year. It'll help with your team's psyche. I don't think you hate to lose to Miami, but going into that game, Miami is pretty daggone good team.
Miami is good, but
they're real good.
Championship.
One thing though,
they really are loaded. And
I think though, they could have kept the gas pedal going, but they stopped.
I think defensively, Miami really showed that, like, they really got good athletes. But I do hear what you're saying. Like, you want to see more of the offense click, and that still could be a work in progress. But I do think they have overachieved, comparatively. But that's enough of that business. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna take a sip of the. I don't know if I can say it, but I drink my kids Capri Suns all the time.
I was getting ready to say something.
Let's go ahead and jump into some high school stuff. Man, this one it was a tale of two halves, man. The first half was all Gaston County. They led this game by a significant margin, and then back come the Trojans. Trojan Magic comes through to save the day. Lincoln takes it 30-21 over winless Gaston County, which sounds weird to say. It feels weird to kind of say that, but Lincoln grabs the victory. Really, the second half comeback was, one that really that's the real star of the story. I think we got to talk about that in depth for a little bit. But the way Lincoln just had a lot of poise going down the stretch in this game, getting the job done in 2 quarters really speaks a lot to the team.
Yeah, I watched this game. Gasson, is bad with all the issues they had. Played pretty good game. Uh, they gave Lincoln all they could handle, and I think it kind of surprised them. And when Lincoln got himself together, they took over. They could run the ball. They passed pretty decent. It was only 100 something yards, 121 yards, but they played a pretty good second half. They did real well trying to hold back Gaskin. Gaskin, when a team like that, when you play in a team that hadn't won a game and they playing that tough, they thinking upset. And Lincoln managed to snatch that away from him in the second half, which I wasn't surprised, but their defense stepped up and shut Gaston down. It made it a difficult ending for them.
Yeah, I was keeping up with this game myself too, and I was really impressed. I'm like, okay, Gaston County, they're showing us something right now. But like you gentlemen said, that second half, making the adjustments needed, Lincoln was like, nah, we've already done our fair share of our past back-to-back losses. We're not letting that come back, and they stood on business. But I will say, even in defeat, though, I think for Gaston County this year, I could comfortably say, in my opinion, I feel like this is probably one of the best games they've played this season. It just goes to show that you guys are still competing in the Big Bend region. And look at it. I mean, it was just a 9-point game. You were right there with the Lincoln Trojans, and that's something I think that they'll build on, and they should be proud for it as well.
And to me, I look at how this is a short span of time, because I think they trailed at halftime, and then they were up pretty solid with like 11 minutes to go in the fourth. So the third quarter explosion was everything. I look at how just being able to do the things that they do well is a mixture of, man, we're gonna pass the ball, get the ball moving up and down the field, mixing in some of the running game, which came back to life. We hadn't seen that. And to me, well, aside from the Leon just thrashing, this looks like the Lincoln football we've been seeing at the beginning of the year. They look very similar to that team we saw in the preseason, and they played like it. One of the things I do, and let me see if I can pull it up. I try to get stats ready, but here, let me see if I can add that to the mix. But yeah, one of the things I saw that stood out to me was just here, hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can grab that. I always got to click around a few extra times to get it.
Take your time.
Yeah, here we go. Let's look at the ground game real fast. And Huggins had 113 yards on the ground. This looks like this is the rushing attack that we were hoping to see, and just hadn't been clicking as of late. But then of course they get to Leon, everything kind of falls into place. But this one was where the ground game, I feel like, was more significant, because it was in a come from behind win. When you needed to have it, it came true in the end. And then of course you see Taylor Jacobs 10 of 14 for 121 yards. But everything got moving on the ground, and Will Tawney had a pair of touchdowns walking into the end zone, 6 yards. But when you get the ground game back, Lincoln looks like they really look like the playoff team that we expect them to see.
Yeah, Mark, they began to take control of this game, and when you can run the football, it turns the other team low. You got the offense sitting on the sideline, and the defense is trying to struggle to keep this team from getting in the end zone. And every time I was flipping from game to game, every time I turn around, flipping back, they walking in the end zone. I'm like, man, Gaston was dominating at first. Then all of a sudden, it's a turnaround. Great plays by
You see a fantastic catch.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is awesome game.
Look at this run for 28 yards. Good awareness, good visual by the runner right here. And look,
that's good genetics because we know who his dad is.
Yeah, it is.
No, you're a good athlete, all the same. We just sometimes when you know, you know.
Yeah, I remember how he looked just like his dad run.
Hey, it runs in the family, and it shows. And again, it just goes to show how quickly Lincoln can make the adjustments needed, and that is something that's going to be something we're going to have to keep an eye on once we get ready for state playoffs that are, just around the corner, and when that happens, and what this team's new approach is going to be. Because when it comes to playoff time, it's a brand new season for everyone.
Man, it's matchups that make the difference. You get a team, the matchups matter. Some teams you play good, you have a great matchup. Some teams you don't. And when the seedings and playoff setup, and we're assuming that Lincoln will make the playoffs, but the matchup would matter more than anything.
Yeah, we'll check in with the points. We'll have a points update on.
Oh man, Juke used to keep up.
Oh yes.
Sometimes it takes a couple of weeks because I don't trust it every week. I look at you want to be able to get a couple of quality wins. Some people's schedule is backloaded. Some people's schedule, all their quality teams are right there in the middle. For Lincoln, the Niceville win, the Madison County win, those things, they count, they matter according to seeding and everything, the algorithm. But being able to be dominant again, you played two of the top teams, not only, I'm not mistaken, but Ware County's in the top 20 in Georgia, and then Nice is definitely in the top 25 in the state of Florida.
And I think this counts too, being that Gadsden County was, the Class 2A state runner-ups in last season's, title game.
According to this, they've played 1, 2, 3 state runner-ups or state champions. So, and then remaining on the schedule is Childs at Trinity Christian, Godby, and Rickards. So, yeah, you still got, good little chunk of meat on your schedule, but for the Trojans, they're 4-2 right now, and basically looking at a way to be able to still, and I guess the way we'll figure out how the system works, but they're looking to really lock up a top spot come playoff time. Other scores in the area, man, we got to talk about this one. Madison County is a tough one, and really for Madison, this is kind of unfamiliar territory because now they're sitting at 2-4 in a very critical point of the season. You really got to be more looking at the schedule, saying, okay, we're going to have some sympathy. These guys have been playing like way up in terms of scheduling, but when you understand how the system works, you want to have enough wins to be able to get in.
Well, I was talking.
That really matters.
Mark, I was talking to one of the Cowboy fans, and he corrected me real quick. He said nobody's played the schedule they played. They played up the whole season. I forgot I think they played a couple of 5, 6As. I mean, they're a Rule 1A school, so I think the point system in their favor. Because I think you win 1 or 2. They win 1 or 2 more games. They probably in anyway, based on the strength of their schedule.
Yeah, I think our extra host, he's not here. Jupe has made it clear that the strength of schedule for Madison County is what's keeping them afloat and making it in the Rule Division state playoffs. But then at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, okay, the strength of schedule is carrying you, but as far as your overall record, how will that judge on do you start the playoffs at home? Will you be mostly on the road? That's the question I'm looking at. And this game right here, I'm like, this is one that is tough to see get away from them, man. 2 points. And it was played on a Saturday too. So you had an extra day to kind of.
They were home.
Yeah. You had an extra day to rest up. Saturday venue, man. And to just come up short of 2 points, that's a gut wrencher. But to add to your point, yes, Coach Cofield, they have played their fair share of Class 4A, 5A, 6A, and I think Pace is what 3A or 4A themselves. So, yeah, the strength of schedule is keeping a flow, but overall record, let's say, well, I think that determines like, will you be home or away when you start?
We're gonna get you some halls in a minute, coach.
And y'all have to forgive me if got a little bit of a cough going on today.
Madison, this is one where we knew how evenly matched the teams were. Um, they I don't want to say they look like mirrors, but Madison and Pace very familiar in terms of style of play. And you can just see Madison, they really held in check what was probably an okay passing game, but man, the ground game for Pace, man, when it got into gear, it really takes off. That is the strength of this team. And it was kind of a light night. This is a team that had been averaging, 300 and something plus rushing yards on the ground. And so Madison was able to kind of hold them but hold them back just a little bit, but still 230 on the ground. Stricklenberger had 110. He's one of their quarterbacks. And then, of course, Washington went off for 93 yards, pair of touchdowns. I do feel like we knew it was going to be a low scoring affair, but when you compare, the rushing yards, Madison only 166 on the ground. Nobody was able to get over 100. That kind of shows you where the differences came from in the game. Really for the Cowboys, one of the things that can be hard is that when you are, playing a tough schedule like this, it can be tough to kind of find a rhythm or groove, just to be able to have that kind of consistency out of your production. But this is a team that it just honestly, if they get to the playoffs and they remain healthy, they can annihilate some teams.
Yeah, like
every trick in the book from every classification at this point.
The team nobody wants to see. They play tough competition. You don't want to start your playoff run with them because they battle tested.
Right.
Yeah, and that's scary going into the playoffs. Whatever team, whoever you are in the state of Florida in the Rule Class division, brace yourself.
Florida High handled business against Charles in a probably one of the most entertaining games of the year. They edged the Charles Timberwolves 40-38. This one had everything you wanted in it. It was a great game.
It was exciting. I watched it. I watched that game, and the ending was something else. Florida had blocked a kick that Charles could have won the game on I think it's only like 30 something yards, and field goal kicker they got was pretty good, and they won that game. And it was, the place, and I think it was only like 3 or 4 seconds to go in the game, and it was exciting. Florida had battling back and forth. Charles got behind and came back and battled, made the game close, and had an opportunity to win it, and just couldn't kick the field goal to win it. Great game. It was great, and it was on TV. It was on television. You know how I am on Friday nights. I got my computers. I'm watching 6 and 7 games all night, and that game was pretty good.
Yeah, I caught some highlights of this one, and like in viewing the camera work of of course the game, but I was also seeing like how packed the entire stadium and the rest of the crowd was for both sides, both fan bases, even people sitting and standing alongside the hill.
High school football had everything you wanted. Child jumped out to the 7-3 early lead in the first quarter, and just gotta give G5 when you gotta have him, like he goes to work for you, and I think he's done an excellent job at quarterback at Childs. 16-29, didn't turn the ball over and had a touchdown. Also, contributed a little bit with his legs. Also scored rushing, but man, everything got interesting in the second quarter because then back comes Florida High. They, really looking at how I don't know, where where the rushing game has been, but man, they find a way to eat up yards. It's not like huge chunk plays that Florida High really was taking advantage of. It was the 5 to 8 yards. I felt like they just kind of first down in the death in certain areas. But man, Jalen Lurie at wideout, man, we got to talk about this kid. He just went off 109 yards, 3 touchdowns receiving. That's pretty much what you want. Like, Cowie and Miller spent significant time under center for Florida High. It's almost like they had a 2-quarterback system at one point.
No, that wasn't the case. The injury again to the starting quarterback, and a young man came in and filled in once again,
right,
as he's done all year long. And Florida High is very fortunate. They're very fortunate to have 2 kids that can play quarterback.
Yeah, I missed the injury.
Yeah, because I picked that up at halftime when they had talked to Coach Hickman, and he was fortunate they had this young man that has a lot of playing time and was able to come in and fill in, and they didn't miss a beat. They didn't miss a beat at all.
But yeah, Jamie Miller, the sophomore, came in 12 of 16, 209, and both QBs had a pair of touchdowns. But yeah, the special teams at the end proved to be the difference maker. Man, Childs had it. They had an opportunity, had a golden opportunity. Just you hate to see it like that, but man, Florida High survives the Timberwolves 40-38.
What are we gonna call this? What are we gonna call this one for our 4 Quarters Online Classics?
I don't know. We gotta figure out. We gotta come up with a name for that. But I was looking through, trying to see if I could find, because they do a pretty good job about doing the play-by-play. But yeah, I couldn't find, some of the box scores that were going on with the game. I still was it was just entertaining from the moments that I did see. It was very entertaining, especially coming down to the end. But Florida High moves to 4-2, and Child's still sitting with a decent record at 4-3. I think they've surprised a lot of people. This is a winnable game, but the Timberwolves, under Coach Reagan's, they're still a threat.
Absolutely, and they're positioning themselves really well right now to have a district title matchup with the Trojans in the near future. Of course, they have another district opponent, but we'll see what that looks like as the season goes, because I know they have one more district opponent before that.
All right, keeping it rolling. This one we saw firsthand. Taylor County just runs away. Runs away with this one, 41-17 over McClay. And let me double check. I think it was 41-14. Let me see if I can get that fixed. But Coach, was it 41-14? I think it was.
I was watching.
Yeah, it was 14.
Yeah, 14. So that's my fault. We'll get that fixed. But 41-14, Bulldogs, man, look for real. Like, they've got a favorable. They've got a couple of tough games left on the schedule, but man, the combination of I would really just say they've got a great linebacker core that was moving all over the field. They created problems. I think they almost had a pick six. Had a linebacker jumped up, snatched a turnover out of the sky. And it's not, to me, sometimes it's not that you're playing bad. It's just that the other team is they just outrace you. They outraced McClay to the football. They were meeting them hat for hat. Like, Taylor County just had the edge, and they just ran away with this one, 41-14.
Yeah, I watched part, at some of my games I watched. Taylor County is a little bit too fast and too big. They get McClay. McClay did the best they could, but this Taylor County team is pretty good. They're one of the teams that in that rural division, that tough rural division, is going to have some people going to have to answer to them. They are pretty daggone good, and I think when the season with the schedule they got, we talking about clashes. some great teams. I mean, I'm excited about their rule because they got some great teams in that division, and it's going to be one of the better teams is not going to even win the state championship.
That's quite the statement.
You got some great teams in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was watching some of this game, and Taylor County just they said we're gonna jump on and the lead and get it quickly against McClay. Now there was a moment where I saw McClay doing their best to rally back. I think they brought it within a 2-score game. It was 28-14 for a good minute, but Taylor County just found a way to just overpower any type of comeback attempt that McClay was doing their best to put together, and it resulted in a dominating 41-14 win, and now they're 6-0.
Yeah, one of the things I think, for both teams, there's still, I don't think anybody expected McClay to be 5-1 after the talent turnover they had after last season. And so, yeah, Taylor County may have been the better football team in this particular matchup, but both teams really have had dominant seasons. This was an undefeated matchup before we started. It was 5-0 versus 5-0.
Yep.
And I think that what we saw, really had a lot more to do with just, and I have the stat line up in a minute, but Taylor County, one of the things that they do very well is Coach Braswell has the interior moving like a well-oiled machine. Like their offensive line unit looked like they were just like in symphonic unison the whole night. And one of the things when you have an offensive line that moves together like that, you just create tons of open space. The ground game really got going for Taylor County. I felt like that was really the true story of the game because it allowed them to pull away against the Marauders. So, a couple of highlights from that game. We had our squad on deck watching that one and bringing that one to everyone else. But Taylor County just has, to me, they have the makings of what can be a very deep run in the playoffs.
Absolutely, I agree. And they are also in the rule class division. And who is to say they could possibly run into a longtime old school rival, maybe Madison County, possibly. See how that shapes up as the season goes. And I see we got some highlights. Man, and look at the turnout it was.
I would love to see a Taylor County, Madison County matchup. I think that would be a very interesting one.
Oh, yes. And I see on the highlights here that we're going to have, just look how, Taylor County was so quick. And
this is a ground game. And you can just see they're just eating up huge chunks of yardage.
And it was like a gain of like 15 right there by the looks of it.
The quarterback, what is Jerez Glatton?
Glenn.
He was responsible for 5 touchdowns in that game.
5 touchdowns, wow.
He threw 4 and he ran for 1. So he was, and let me see what his stats. He ran for over 102 yards.
Wow, look at that.
And he passed for 136. He had an awesome game.
Yeah, and
he was Mr. Everything.
And when you have a quarterback that is like a playmaker like that, very mobile, giving you like that Baker Mayfield type vibe, he'll find the go-to receivers. They'll get open, and it just results in just something excellent. Like we saw that leaping catch right there on that highlight reel just now. I mean, we talk about a lot of teams like how we would like to see in the playoffs and stuff like that. Taylor County is definitely a team that I'm really looking forward to seeing how they do in the rural class division. Like you gentlemen say, I mean, the rural class division has lots of other teams spread throughout Florida that are just as good and talented as well. So time will tell.
Yeah, Taylor County, their schedule goes like this. Chiefland. Whew, that's going to be
tough.
Do they got to go to Chiefland, or they come up?
At Leon. So I can definitely, all of these games are winnable. The way they've been playing, it is not far-fetched to believe that Taylor County could not end up 10-0, but they've got a couple of really tough matchups going up against Chiefland. We'll get to that in just a minute. And then they end off the year at Leon, which just has a lot of intrigue into it. But yeah, we'll find out. And then McClay has a couple of tough games left too on their slate as well. Wakulla gets by Fort Walton Beach 30-22. Boy,
this was tough.
Back in the win column, and really for Wakulla, they were a little bit embattled. Ending out August, going into September, they dropped a couple at home, no less, to Taylor County and Childs in back-to-back weeks. They figured things out in the bye, and they've been rolling ever since. Wins over FAMU DRS, Swan, and then Fort Walton Beach as they get to a critical district matchup against Godby coming up. That was going to be a big one. But, this is I think this is what this team has needed in order to get back grounded, really being able to figure things out. We definitely, we see Owen Cleese getting his, picking his spots here and there, but really looking at who are the next set of playmakers that are going to be stepping up for this team and understanding that they're still young as well. But this was I felt like this was a must win for them. Being able to go on the road like that and get one and being able to come back, at least to a point where you're healthy, what you got. A lot of what I see for Wakulla coming up down the stretch is just really how are you going to perform with the rest of your district, because they're not out of it at all by any stretch. They just got a really tough few games coming up down, and then they end the season at Gaston County. So there's still a few tough games there, but for this one, I felt like the War Eagles, this is the one that you needed.
Well, the game this week, with Godby is crucial because that's a district game, and I think Wakulla I'm with the schedule. They beat Swanee. Did they beat Swanee? I'm not sure. I forgot.
Yeah.
Wakulla did, yes.
They beat Swanee, and Baker. I mean, I guess Godby game is the district championship.
Yeah, for the implications are for Wakulla. It positions them to potentially compete for a district title at a later district matchup. For Godby, they win this one, they're district champs, and they secure a spot in the Class 3A state playoffs.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to get a point where we can go over. We got to go over the point system, but for the most part, we'll take some time and kind of refine the new landscape for everybody. But the way the point system works is that this is it's just new territory in terms of playoff seeding. So if you're not the district champion, you can still get in. It's just a matter of how the system ranks you. So we'll go over that next get a chance. But for the War Eagles, I believe that a lot of what that we've seen is just the youth trying to catch up and just growing. This is a team where every so often that you graduate so much talent, and then you end up in a position where you just got young guys. But for the War Eagles, they've been able to, I would say, they've been able to maintain what is in front of them. Sitting at 4-2 is right where you want to be, especially going into district play next week. And then we'll get a chance to kind of see what shakes out. It's never really over. That's why we play the games. But this will be a great matchup coming up next week that's going to be critical for both teams.
Absolutely.
Yeah, should be. I'm looking forward to that matchup. I know you are too, Mark.
Oh, yeah. North Bay Haven, don't look now, but the Buccaneers are 3-3 with a big win over Mariana, 17-14. North Bay Haven pulls one down, and the Bucks really just, if you want to have a shot at the playoffs, especially at the, for me, I just look at the season that they've had years prior, where they just weren't able to finish the season, didn't have a team. I think this is way overachieving for North Bay Haven, for them to be sitting at 500 at the midpoint of the season. Or after the midpoint of the season. And really for the Bucks, if things swing their way, they could sneak into the playoffs.
Wow. With the all the upheaval at North Bay Haven, I think it's 4 different coaches over the past 4 years. And being able to compete and got a chance of having a winning season is an amazing feat for them. Uh, they struggled at the beginning of the season, and then they came in, looked like they're getting themselves together. And it's not when at the beginning of the season we'd put this matchup together, we'd have thought it was a shoe in for Mariana, but no, 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 no. North Bay Haven is coming, playing some solid football with some and doing what they got to do to compete.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, this one hits close to home because I feel like I know another team that's had a similar journey like North Bay Haven. For a team to start out a bit rough, to then find ways to turn it around, be coming up against Mariana, a team that was in the state playoffs last year, and you win in a 3-point, close one, and now you're 3-3. You're positioning yourself to possibly, have a winning record and a state playoff appearance. And it just goes to show, like, you are far more a different team now than you were a season ago. And quite the turnaround that the Buccaneers are having right now. And it's really good to witness, And on the other side of the ball, Mariana played, I still think, a good game. They kept it close, just didn't finish.
Yeah, for the Bucks, looking at how the things go down the stretch, they got a very interesting matchup against Rutherford next week. So that's gonna be one that has my eyes on it. I think just because both teams have been in battle as of late, but Caleb and I may butcher this kid's last name. I'm sorry. Mazansky, 15 to 30 for 294, a pair. A touchdown. The ground game got cranking for North Bay Haven. They were able to put up 106 on the night. Again, Caleb Mazansky also chipping in with 74 rushing yards and a TD. Just a good all-around night, and then the defense held up pretty stout. I think, and really, it was just more so just the fact that I think they were in the backfield of Mariana for most of the night. But yeah, I think they also tallied about 3 or 4 sacks. So yeah, just a great night defensively for North Bay Haven as they are able to pull out the victory. So congrats to the Bucks moving to 3-3 on the year. Good matchup coming up next week against Rutherford. That's going to be critical.
Looking forward to that. That's going to be it'll determine how successful the season will be for North Bay Haven.
Wow.
Now, let's talk about Cottondale. Cottondale has quietly but very assuredly moved to 4-2 on the year with a very strong win against Franklin County. And this one, we know that Franklin is much improved, but Cottondale, man, coming off of the season that they had last year, still returns quite a little bit of they return some. Not sure where they're spread out on both sides of the ball, but they returned some talent from last year. But 4-2 on the year, and they still got a good chunk of season left to play. But man, this was a big win over Franklin County, a talented Franklin County team. And Cottondale now sitting at 4-2, they're now one of the better teams in the rural area right now. Classification.
Not surprising. Cottondale's over the past few years has really improved the program, and it's amazing the battle. About 3 years ago, we talking about Franklin versus Cottondale. It wouldn't. I don't even think you'd make that a primary game to talk about. But this game was close all the way down to the end. So, hey, my hats off to these guys, man. Keep fighting, keep playing. You never know what can happen.
I agree with you, Coach. To add on that, yeah, you would have never thought, like, back then, even when I was in school, both of these schools were hardly ever talked about unless if it was like for another sport, so not necessarily football. But Cottondale, Franklin County, man, this was such a good game to keep track of, and it prevailed with the Hornets winning. Look at that, 42-35. Wow, this is a shootout. It's a shootout.
Exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah, reminiscent of the Big 12, and most of what we do know about Cottondale was just really just the pairing of the and I'm gonna get their names in just a second, but wide receiver and running back play for them has been uh, pretty astounding. Just to be able to watch them just offensively explode over the past couple of seasons, and um, we glitching tonight, y'all. I don't know why, but
We missed Juke.
Jupe is not. He could be, but he's not technical support. But I'm sure he could be.
Good protection by the old line right there for that bomb pass into the end zone too.
But yeah, you can definitely see just the dynamics of the game. It was very back and forth in the beginning. But yeah, Cottondale, like watching them move down the field, just huge chunks of yardage. One of the things about their offense that I really like, it's not so fancy. It's just efficient, and that's one of their staples. They've just been able to find their playmakers all over the field, and being able to get them the ball. And they're very fun to watch too. If you ever get a chance to pick up, if anything, some of who they played over the past couple of weeks, they've been a very fun team to watch. And Hornets now sitting at one of the better positions in the rural classification at 4-2. Let's jump into the previews for next week. Did we go over scores? I don't think we did.
No, you jumped. You're moving too fast, Mark.
Yeah.
You hadn't gone over everybody. Somebody want to hear.
Let me jump back. I got my slides out of order. That's okay. Got my slides out of order. But
that's gonna be that game. Gonna be special.
Oh yeah, we gonna get to this, ladies and gentlemen.
We're gonna get to this one. Just hang on, people.
We got to get back.
But yeah, we'll get a chance to jump into the preview for next week. But let's go ahead and finish talking about what we had coming down from week number 7. Had a chance to talk about North Bay Haven and Mariana. Niceville blanks Godby 17-0. Cougars fall on the road. We talked about how tough it is to play in Niceville, but man, Godby not able to find the end zone in this one as they fall to Niceville 17-0. Bishop Kenny and Rickards hooked up, and man, the Crusaders, man, they handle business against the Raiders 56.
I thought that was a mistake when I saw it. I said, ain't no way they beat them. It was 40-something. I think nothing in the halftime. So I'm like, is
47 points before halftime? Ouch.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, is that a real score?
It was a rough outing for the Raiders. It was a rough outing.
Rough. That's a nice way to put it.
Also moving on, let's go ahead and look at skip over a couple of things. But man, Cairo handled business against Leon 48-7. Syrup makers all over the Lions. Leon still and I think they played. Did they play Cairo last year?
I want to say yes.
I think there's 0-2 in the Peach State, but yeah, Lions tough loss against Syrup makers 48-7. Bluntstown all over Sneeze 58-6, and we talked about who are some of the top teams in the rural classification, but Bluntstown is the top team. Tigers are looking like the very similar to the state championship run they made some years back. I think that was 2000 and maybe 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. But Tigers looking like one of the more dominant teams in the areas. They handle business against these 58-6. Liberty all over Weewa Hitchcock 42-0. Osceola Christian downs Calhoun out of Georgia 47-14. Big win for the Warriors. Hamilton County all over PK Young 58-14. Columbia blanks Manatee. That was one I didn't have enough time to get that one ready, but I definitely wanted to talk about that one as Columbia, man. They had the little slip up against St. Augustine and bounced back in a big way.
When I saw that score, I'm like, wow, I couldn't believe it. Manatee did not even get a field goal. That's very unorthodox.
Yeah, Columbia, really looking like one of the more dominant teams in their classification. Again, Nice, that was the anomaly, but man, Columbia is still looking like a dominant playoff team. Lafayette edges Fort White 27-20 for a big win on the year. Arnold, man, this one kind of turns some head. Arnold downs Walton 28-21, and don't look now, but the Marlins, I think that was their second or third victory on the year. I have to check into that one.
Most impressive.
But yeah, Marlins got an interesting matchup coming up next week. Yeah, second win on the year. And yeah, they have an interesting matchup coming up next week against Fort Walton Beach, and then they have Mosley rounding out with at Rickers and at Rutherford. So district play in full effect, but man, the Marlins got their work cut out for them. But at least they were able to snatch a victory last Friday over Walton 28-21. Graceville, a big winner over Vernon 42-15. Choctaw handles South Walton 38-6. In NFC and Jefferson County, I believe that one got postponed.
Yeah, it got count. The game was. I talked to Coach Bright. They had some issues. They had a lot of injuries. Didn't have but 13 kids to dress out, and they decided. He didn't tell me whether they were going to play the game later, but they couldn't. He said he couldn't put a team on the field.
So it was postponed, not forfeit or anything else. Just postponed.
They just didn't. It wasn't. It hadn't been decided yet because he can't. You can't play with 13 players.
Nah.
One in. Yeah, and I think his whole offensive line was almost out. So we talked about it. He was explaining the situation, and North Florida Christian agreed.
Okay.
All right, there we go. Now we're ready for week number 8. Mosley taking on Niceville. And last year, the Dolphins prevailed against a very good Niceville team and were able to pull out the victory at home. This one on the road, they had to go into Niceville to play this one. Niceville still... I give Niceville a pair of touchdowns just because they're playing at home. That's how tough that place is to play. Mosley just, coming off of the bye week, very well rested. This could be and I think this was going to be played on Thursday night. So Mosley looking like, hey, we still are trying to secure and lock up the spot here. And this one really just a huge district matchup.
Yeah, I think this is an exciting game for fans to watch. Watch these two programs. They play great football, both of the teams, and man, I'm looking forward to seeing how this one will come out. I think Mosley's a little bit got an edge coming into this game, and Niceville, they home, so it might be tough. But this would be an exciting matchup between two teams who battle every time they play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you getting land the football? Because are you getting land the football? Because the tight end set that Mosley runs is absolutely dangerous. I mean, we saw them against Rickards earlier in the season. We saw them we saw them a couple of weeks ago, I think, against, or at least I saw them against Milton. Yeah, you got to spread the football around. They can definitely turn the running game on if they need to, but man, you get the tight ends involved at Mosley, and it's just like, man, it's a completely different thing you have to figure out how to defend. And a lot of teams, when you got a good tight end, that could be one of the most, dangerous things to go up against. It's just another wrinkle in the offense that you got to figure out how to defend.
He didn't play like a tight end. He played like a wide receiver against Rickards. I mean, every time I looked up, he was open or in the end zone. So that should be a great matchup. I'm sure Niceville got something planned for when you play Mosley. You definitely have to address land.
Yeah, and I think this is a good test for Mosley, man. Coming in at 5-1 and playing in Niceville, a place that is very challenging to play at. The atmosphere and the help of that 12th man being a full stadium with your band and student section right there on the field. This will be a good road test for the Mosley Dolphins, and we'll see how it goes, man. Because remember, this is what if you're going to be a playoff team, this is what playoff atmosphere is going to be like, playing in places like Niceville.
Nothing like it. Nothing like it.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen it. One time.
you say one time.
One time. Hey, one time is all it takes. One time. One time.
I can tell you playing there was definitely intimidating.
What team was this? Which one?
This was my. I had already graduated. My brother. It was his senior year of high school. It was the first round of the Class 7A state playoffs at the time when, Coach, who was it? Coakley was the head coach at Leon. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a rough one for my brother and his classmates. But that was the first time I was introduced to Niceville, that stadium, that atmosphere. I'm like, yo, this ain't normal. I'm looking around like, wow.
All right, let's keep it rolling. Gaston County, Florida High. And based on what we saw last week, this could be a pretty good matchup as well. We saw Gaston County come to life against Lincoln. Really knew that they were going to be getting back a lot of players and battled all season long. This team is hungry for a win. And then Florida High, I mean, honestly, just great back and forth game between Childs earlier. They, handled everything that the Timberwolves could dish at them, including surviving the special teams play at the end. Seminoles, man, this is just going to be more. I think you got to kind of ignore the records in this one because I think both teams really have a lot of talent all over the field. Interested to see how the running game gets going for Florida High, especially if it's still a backup QB situation for them. Yeah, I'm gonna be cued into this one.
This should be a pretty good matchup. This game gonna be played at Gaston. The fans are it's gonna be wild. Florida High, you have to you kind of impressed with how Florida High they go everywhere and play. And I think this is a district game for them.
It is.
It's a district game.
Yeah,
man. At the beginning of the season, before all the drama at Gaston, Gaston looked like one of the best teams. Was going to be one of the better teams in the whole state of Florida. They loaded with weapons all over the place, and the defense, which still is intact pretty much. With the, I think they got about 4 or 5 D1s on that defense. So, man, this should be an exciting matchup. Florida has. They run the ball, but they managed to throw a lot of touchdown passes lately.
Yeah, absolutely, and a lot is banking on this matchup right here, especially for the Gadsden County Jaguars, because this is the district right here, because it's a 2-team district. Florida High and Gadsden County right now, with the only 2 teams being in that district, and this to get a win against Florida High at home could really set the tone the rest of the season, and who knows what it will start for Florida High. Of course, it's you lock in your spot, and as far as the rest of your schedule plays out and what that looks like will determine how high you go up in the points, and then determine how you start the playoffs at home, who your matchup will be, and so on. But then again, on the other side of it, going back to Gaston County, this is a chance to salvage the season and turn some things around. So this is going to be a very good game. I'm excited, regardless of both teams' records. I'm excited for this matchup.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about it is understanding. We definitely talked about the offseason drama and everything. I think it's just how much time do you give Gaston County to put things together? Because this is still, if you get if some of those players really are, back in the mix and everything, it may not take them that long to return to some of that form.
I forgot. The state decided that Gaston cannot go in the playoffs anyway.
Oh, yes.
They can. So it's just
virtue of
this is
the ruling Florida High. Yeah,
that basically puts Florida High in the playoffs. So.
Oh, that's right. They tried to appeal, but
I think that was last week.
One of the stipulations.
Yes. Yeah. So this is.
I just got excited for no reason.
Yeah, it's okay.
No, I
A
think
good
I
football
think the
game.
Jags have a lot to play for, in my opinion.
It's a
Yeah,
good game. Yeah, all you want is a good game.
Especially if you're a senior on that team, you want to be able to, hey, we want to make the most of this. Like, try to go out, as best as we can on top. I do think that there's always the notion of what could have been, but this is still, I mean, honestly, this is still one of the better matchups in my opinion. I think you kind of got to clear the slate in terms of records and playoff implications. But this is just going to be a team that, if anything, this makes Gaston County more dangerous because this is a team with something to prove.
You
So
ain't got
I
nothing to
definitely think,
lose.
yeah,
absolutely.
I think we're going to see the best, especially with them playing at home. I think Florida High is going to get the best shot that they can get from Gaston County, and I'm definitely going to have my eye on this one. I think this was going to be a great matchup.
Absolutely. Ooh.
Man, Port St. Joe taking on Chipley, and Chipley got a little bit. I don't want to say shell shocked. I'm not sure if that's how they took it, but it definitely was, an eye opener us to see them, fall um, to Holmes County before the bye. I'm sure they went into the bye and got some things kind of shored up and fixed. But man, you come out of the bye and this is, a tough road matchup, and Port St. Joe absolutely just I hate to say it, but man, it's like, man, they just absolutely took Rutherford to the woodshed. Previous week, they're coming off of a big win. This one just has a lot to it. I really like the way that Port St. Joe has been able to just generate the kind of offense that they put up last week was just, man, that they looked awfully dangerous. And then Chipley still sitting at 5-1, even though they had the letdown before the bye week. This is going to be a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this shakes out. But I think Chipley going to fight back. I mean, I think they were taken out. I think they thought they were going to go into that game. Might have not had the A game that night. And Holmes, who's all for the whole season been playing these close games. They've been battling every week. They never get blown out. They play close games, and they took it to Chipley, and I think sometimes that's a wake up call for a team to let them know they're human. You can't make a mistake. You better bring your A game every time you play.
Yeah,
Now,
do not.
go ahead.
I was just saying, yeah, never take someone too lightly. And, you do that, you let your guard down, and then the result may be what it was. But absolutely, I'm really interested in looking how does Chipley, respond and get back to, after being, I guess, what you said, Mark, shell shocked, if that's the term we're going to use, how you get back on track now. You're 5-1 still. The season still goes on. How will you respond? And for Port St. Joe, how are we going to, bring our A game to a top tier team of the rural division right now?
Yeah, this one has a lot of intrigue over it. I just look at the way that, Chipley, they have a common opponent in Rutherford. Both winners over Rutherford. The score a little bit closer in the Chipley matchup. Really, Chipley got blanked against Holmes County, I think. I think they got shut out. And if the offense is going to have to show up in a big way going into Port St. Joe, taking them on at their place, because Port St. Joe's defense has been playing pretty lights out. Held Rutherford in check in previous weeks, and just honestly, like that, I don't think they've given up more than 20 points all year. So this was going to be another dogfight. But again, if Port St. Joe gets loose, it could be a long night for Chipley. So I do look at for this to be a closer ball game, but man, it has the implications to go either way.
Agreed. Agreed. I was already before that Holmes County loss. I thought that Chipley probably was close to going undefeated.
South Walton coming off a tough loss against Choctaw in the previous week, and they get Freeport. That's the prize they get. The Bulldogs, still one of the more dominant teams in the area. Only one loss, a tough one to Pensacola Catholic. So both teams looking to get back into the winning column side of things. Freeport started out like on fire, just 4-0, putting up 48, 71, 54 points apiece in the game. So you know they have the offensive firepower. It really just is going to come down to, I think this could be a low scoring affair. Looking at South Walton, they've really been, they had the low scoring affair, I think, at Florida High. At Florida High, they managed 14 points, and then the hard fought win against Walton, 13-0. I think South Walton's offense is going to have to kick into high gear because this could be some fireworks, or we could be seeing something like 9-10. But either way, this is going to be an entertaining one. South Walton looking to they've already bested their win total from last season because they really were definitely in battle last season. So this one, I believe, is another. Is it a district game? I had to check.
I know it's in the county. I don't know if it's a district.
It may not be a district game.
Mark, I disagree with you about the score. This could be a basketball score. These two teams.
It could be.
Oh wow!
Because you saw Freeport put up 70 points and only won by like 9 points. They 70-60 against Cottondale, and South Walton has the offensive capacity. They throw the ball. They got a great quarterback. They can put up points too. So this could be they might be playing this to 12 or 1 o'clock at night.
Oh my goodness!
The clock doesn't run when you throw the ball.
Yeah.
I know you hate that.
Hey man, I'm telling you, these two teams. I seen both of them play, and this low. If it's a low scoring game, I'll be shocked.
We could see another broken scoreboard in this one, but either way, it's going to be an entertaining one. South Walton 4-2 taking on Freeport 4-1. Liberty County, Cottondale, and don't look now, but both of these teams matching 4-2 records. But man, this is going to be a good one because Liberty County has come on as of late, dominant wins over Franklin County, Sneeds, and then Hitchcock that absolutely annihilated the Gators 42-0. Liberty County looks like they've been in a rhythm as of late, and they get Cottondale at home, a place that they've been playing very well. And aside from the Bluntstown game to open up the season, they're undefeated at home, or would be undefeated at home. They're sitting at 3-0 or 3-1 at home this year. It to me, it's like jockeying for that third place kind of spot. We've seen Bluntstown. We know that they're one of the top teams in the area. I would say Port St. Joe has really, looks like they might be in that number 2 spot. But man, this little second, third area here, I think could be decided between Liberty County and Cottondale because of how they've been playing. Liberty, they've got the matching opponents. They both had a chance to, or I think Port St. Joe is on Cottondale's schedule, but both got wins over Franklin County. This one seems to be kind of, looking like, the home field advantage is going to be huge for Liberty County, in my opinion. But how do they hold Cottondale's offense in check? Is going to be all the question for Coach Tranquil and his group. We saw what Cottondale was able to do. I think they've had a couple of 60, 50, 70-point games on their schedule as well. So this one's going to be entertaining. I'm looking to see something, maybe somewhere it could be a low-scoring game, but with Cottondale being in the mix, I don't see it.
Man, it looked like Liberty in the past few weeks, the team has ramped up. Team was struggling at the beginning of the season, and all of a sudden, the last few weeks, they've been dominating, beating teams, putting points on the board. Some of the victories, it was kind of a surprise to me. And I wouldn't be surprised they knocked Cottondale off. They play, like you said, they play well at home. They seem like they've gotten it together. They put everything together, and they gelling. And they're gelling at the right time toward the end of the season. Look forward to this being a heck of a matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. When you have two teams come together that win big, we've mentioned Cottondale has had their fair share of big victories, and now Liberty County has gotten rhythm the past 2 3 weeks of winning big. When you have two teams that come together facing each other that know how to win big, a lot tends to happen, a lot of unusual things. So a game where we may see as a shootout will actually be a lot closer than what some of us experts may pick. I agree with you.
I'm
The
not an
home
expert.
I agree though. The home field advantage is going to come in handy, I believe. For you said this is a home game for Liberty County, and they're 3-1 at home. Okay, let's see how they do against a team that brings their A game, and I think Cottondale will do everything they can to keep this one close. But then again, we'll see.
It is all about the Collins boys. It's not all about, but I mean, that's the name that keeps popping up. Cottondale, Treshawn and Tremont Collins, top two receivers, and then Zacharias Collins. I'm not sure if I'm not sure of the relationship. Quite sure. I think they might all be brothers. I could be wrong, but averaging 185 yards a game on the ground. That is your offense right there for Cottondale. And honestly, like you're really in a position where you gotta contain that one family in order to be able to have a shot. But Liberty County has their work cut out for them, but they're at home where they've been playing lights out. So this is gonna be a good game. Definitely looking forward to it, and more importantly, just the implication it has on the rural playoff race. This is going to be a good one.
Yep, Mark. This should be a nice little matchup, and predicting how the turnout could be very difficult.
Godby Wakulla district game. This is going to be a huge one for both teams. Godby coming off of the tough Niceville loss and really taking on Wakulla at home at the right time. War Eagles really trying to get back onto the winning side of things. And man, this is just going to be. You got to toss the records aside again. I think that this has just grown into a little bit of a rivalry between these two. Playoff implications always on the line every time they hook up, and I don't expect this one to be any different. Cougars getting off the road at the right time, and I think Wakulla, really trying to get a lot of what they saw in previous weeks back on track, and it has been showing up in a big way as Wakulla over the past couple of games. And, for me, I think it had more so to do with just the fact that, like, hey, you take your tune-up games, we can get them. Unfortunately, it was FAMU DRS. But, yeah, being able to fall into a rhythm and show some resiliency, fighting off Swanee, fighting off Fort Walton Beach. And we'll just see how much fighting the War Eagles got going up against a tough Godby team that really just, I think, has been in some situations where they've kind of beaten themselves a little bit in some games. But, for the most part, this is still going to be a very, very tough district game. I expect this one to be a little bit closer than what people might think. But that's kind of what you can expect during these district games.
It's always like that, man. When you're playing the district folk, I remember years back. I know you went to a playoff game with these two teams, and you guys had pictures of shots of whether a touchdown was a touchdown and controversy. They see each other every year, whether they're in the district or not. So, man, this is a heck of a matchup coming down late in the season. Always a battle between Godby and Wakulla, no matter what, whether it's a district or it's just a regular season game.
Yeah, absolutely. To add on to that, when you have two teams that are just so familiar with each other and have history and depth, you couldn't ask for anything more than a entertaining game, but also a game that's going to possibly come down to the wire. And if I'm not mistaken, is this game, it's in Wakulla at J.D. Jones, or is it in Tallahassee?
No, this one's going to be at Cox. Yeah.
All righty. So there you have it, too. I mean, it's going to be very entertaining, of course. But make no mistake, that War Eagle fan base knows how to travel. So I'm looking.
Oh, they have a home. They have a permanent home over there. Just they make the trip all the time. It's always going to be a good game. Uh, one of the things that just looking at stat lines and everything, just looking at how really, for Wakulla, you want to be able to see that ground game get rolling again, and wonder how that's going to stack up against Godby's defense. Cougars really, I would say, they shined against Baker County a couple of weeks ago. The defense really, I mean, I would say anytime you can hold a team under 20 points, it's a winnable game. And I think that's just where, Godby's offense just has to find their mojo again. I think for Wakulla, it's just can you fight off another big dog? And that's really going to be the tail of the tape for, I think, this matchup here. But, man, district implications on the line once again for both teams. Simmons for Godby leading the passing attack, averaging 70 yards a game, and then McMillan. But really, when you look at Godby, it really is going to come down to just quarterback play and being able to pick spots. And for Wakulla, we understand that the team still is growing up a little bit, but man, those 3 straight victories are counting for something. It's just how are they going to show up on the road against Godby? So it'll be a good one. But yeah, district positioning on the line in that one. Madison County, another big one. It seems like a bomb goes off every week in their schedule, man. Rains on the road, hitting I-10 and heading east into Duval to take on the Vikings, who are undefeated, sitting at 5-0. And man, there are no breaks for the Cowboys this year, y'all. None. Not one.
I guess when they made his schedule, I guess he knew what he was doing, man. That is one heck of a matchup going into as a rural school. What they have Reigns is a 5A, 6A. Which one is it?
3.
Yeah, 3.
They just
played,
3.
Yeah, they're class 3.
Because they played.
I really don't look at classifications when I look at Madison's schedule. It's just the names. The names by themselves have been just enough alone. I just, at first I saw the schedule and I was just like, okay, wow. Okay, wait. Then I got halfway through the schedule. I was like, damn, are y'all suicidal? Like, what y'all doing?
I mean,
the way they put that schedule together, it went for those who don't remember, it went D-Land, Lincoln, Suwannee, Columbia, and Bay. That was the first half. Then it goes in the second half after the bye week, Pace, Rains, Florida High, Apopka, and Lecanto. It just nobody, coaches, just like you said earlier, nobody has seen that kind of schedule.
When you win, it's tough to get a schedule that people will see. Would say you got a break, because nobody wants to put Madison on the schedule. I'm a 5A school. I don't want to play them. They beat schools like us. My job on the line playing Madison.
And I give Florida High a close second too. I do give them, because they went Thomas County Central. They have Madison on their schedule. They're playing Gaston County. They got, I think, Bishop Moore somewhere in there. So I give Florida High. I think they're right in that mix. But man, this is brutal. But still, Madison is hung tough in, I think, all but maybe, if I'm not mistaken, I think they've hung tough in every game. The 21-20 loss to D-Land, 23-12 against Lincoln. Not out of hand. Still, I would say they were still in it. Suwannee, they won in dominating fashion. Columbia was a tough loss, but still 9-0. And then Bay, 41-35, and then Pace, 20-18. So these were all games that they were in, and they were winnable. So if things had gone differently, we could be seeing 2 5-0 teams. I mean, two undefeated teams. Madison at 6-0 and Reigns at 5-0. But yeah, it has been that close for the Cowboys this season.
Yeah, absolutely. A team that just knows who they are as a team and that they could compete at any level. That's pretty much what Madison has showed me all season long. And when you look at their schedule, that we can play with anyone from any classification. And it also goes to show, I feel like they've outgrown the rule division that they're in. It's like, they know their worth, and it's like, okay, we know who we are in our division, so let's challenge ourselves and play, these big names and these higher level classification schools. In other words, they've outgrown their own division. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. For teams to do like, and there's been several in Florida that do it, not just Madison. There are others in the state of Florida where where you've outgrown something for being a part of it for so long. You're going to want to challenge yourself, and you're going to want something different. And Madison County, in my opinion, is an example of that.
When you're a state champion, it makes sense to make the schedule that they made. I just don't think anybody expected some of these teams to be as good as they were coming down the stretch, because you want to look at and you kind of gauge, and maybe we got 5 or 6 really tough teams on the schedule, and then by the time you get to week number 4, it's like, man, 5 and 6 is turned into 7 and 8. And that's just been that's just what it is for them. But such is the life of a Cowboy. As Madison goes out to the boneyard to take on Reigns, sitting at 5-0. So another tough one for the Cowboys. Now this one caught my eye as soon as I saw this week's slate. Taylor County, Chiefland. Chiefland's only loss to Baker County. They are sitting at 6-1, and they have absolutely handled some teams. They had a huge win over Lafayette earlier in the season, but Taylor County, man, this is the test. This is the test. And one of the things when you get to the test, you want to be able to make sure that you've prepped for everything. And I have full confidence in Coach Braswell, knowing that they saw this game. I'm pretty sure they started game planning as soon as they were on a bus back from Tallahassee against McClay last week. This is one of those where you win a game like this one, especially they're giving you everything you want. You're at home, going to be back in Dorset. The crowd is going to be, that's right. The crowd is going to be in it. We definitely know, the atmosphere is going to be on point. This is Chiefland. Chiefland has been able to just absolutely dismantle some teams. This is going to be a huge, huge game. Really for Taylor County, I just look at trenches up front. Can you protect your quarterback, make space for him? Looking at just what he's been able to do over the past several weeks, week in and week out, and in the defense, especially for Taylor County, I give hats off to their linebacker core and their front four. They've just been absolutely just ferocious against teams. Looking at the way that they've been able to handle, especially McClay, that was an undefeated team. So, the schedule doesn't get any easier, but I just was very impressed with the way that their defense played, creating turnovers and opportunities just to put the ball back in the hands of their offense. And, a lot of it just has a lot to do with just how that unit has played together. Because going up against Chiefland, I think that one of the bigger tests is just going to be, can that defense sustain things? Your offense is going to do what it does best, but can your defense sustain things? And this is really going to be the bigger test for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I think this is a nice matchup. These two teams, they're close. They're not far apart. I mean, within a few miles of each other. And it's one of the games I wouldn't mind going to see. I wouldn't even mind paying for it just to see these teams.
Where are these two teams playing?
This game is going to be in Taylor County.
Yeah, it's going to be down in Perry.
It's going to be in Perry. It's going to be wild. It's going to be wild, isn't it?
And because of that, I liked it. And I mean, I'm going to be honest. I like Taylor County's chances because of that. Because had this game, if it was going to be in Chiefland, I've driven through Chiefland before. I've seen that stadium, the town that it's in. And I said to myself, wow, I bet that place is like sold out every Friday night. But now that this game that I've heard it's going to be in Perry, now I'm thinking differently. And it's going to be quite the atmosphere for the Taylor County Bulldogs. But make no mistake, though, Chiefland is a good program, one of like a storied one here in the state of Florida. In the state of Florida, and I think they're going to bring a really good crowd with them as well. This will be fun. Yeah, Coach, if you can go down there and catch it, man. Yeah.
Man, I got to monitor 6-7 games at the house, but I wouldn't mind if I had the opportunity to go see that. That's a heck of a matchup there.
Now, this is the thing about Chiefland, and it's I think it's Demarius Sweet is a running back averaging 100 yards a game.
Ooh.
You know, but again, this is Taylor County, and we understand that this defensive front is built for this. I think that a lot of what I have seen based out of, just watching them is that's really of course the offense is fun to watch. Don't want to take away anything from Glanton. He's been averaging 100 yards a game too, rushing. That's just rushing. Like he's getting it done in both areas of the game for the offense. But man, just looking at how these teams are built, a lot of it just really comes down to who is going to be more dominant in the trenches. And I just like what Taylor County has been able to do. Watching them against McClay really, kind of previewed a lot. When you look at Chiefland, the passing game really didn't come alive until game number 4 against Lafayette. They were held pretty much – they didn't pass the ball for the first 2-3 games of the season, but it was really the ground game for them. This team is averaging about 210 on the ground. And, that's really where Taylor County is going to have to go to work. The passing game isn't super amazing, but it is there and it's effective for Chiefland. And I think it just really comes down to just that defensive front for the Bulldogs. And honestly, if that group shows up in a big way, I think Taylor County can be able to remain undefeated. And this is one of those big tests you got to pass in the middle of the season, Coach.
So what now?
I said this is one of those big tests you got to pass in the middle of the season.
Hey, especially if you want to play in the state championship, you got to find out how good are we? Are we pretenders or contenders? We don't know. And this kind of game will bring it around for you. You'll find out, and it's a good test for both teams. Yeah.
I really like the way that Coach Braswell has gotten a program kind of turned around. This was a team that 2 seasons ago. I mean, let's just take it for what it is. The hurricane comes through, decimates Dorset Stadium. You have some issues with player retention. This was not the Taylor County we've been used to. But then Braswell steps back in, pumps that flavor back in to the overall, to the mix, and just certain things come alive. It's already there. It was already baked in. I think just needed the right guy for the job, and so congrats to Coach Braswell doing a phenomenal job now down there, and they are really in prime position to take on. I would say the rest of the rural classification is going to be interesting going down the stretch.
Agreed.
All right, one final one to get to before we wrap it up. We got to talk about Lincoln taking on Childs here in just a second. That's going to be a huge game coming up in week number 8, and it's just looking at the way both of these teams, you can't really overlook it. It's a huge district game, and I think you have to really take Child seriously. I know Lincoln has really owned the matchup so far, but man, there's just something about the way the Timberwolves have been playing of late. Had the really close game against Florida High. Man, that ball splits the uprights. We're having a way different conversation right now. But right now, Lincoln still, I think, for the most part, that ground game really got clicking. And I think Childs, that defense is going to have to really step up. You've got a dual threat quarterback. You've got to figure out how to contain. And, I definitely think that Childs has the talent to be able to at least put up a good fight. I'm not sure how we can see their offense go up against Lincoln's, but man, this is one of those where if you're not able to get out in front of Lincoln early and set the tone, this one could get ugly in a hurry.
Mark, this game, maybe a little bit of revenge on Child's side, because Jacobs was their quarterback last year, transferred over to Lincoln. And, you know how players are. They they get a little bit more motivated when somebody that was on their team changes programs. And Lincoln and Charles, the history of Lincoln has pretty much dominated this matchup over the years, but Charles is a different program this year. They are able to run the football very successfully, and they do a lot of good things defensive. So Lincoln can't go in there thinking they go. This is the old Charles. This team is good enough, and they can beat Lincoln if Lincoln not bringing the A game. But I'm sure it's going to be wild. It is going to be a wild matchup with these two teams. They always are. They always are.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, with the use of Gene Cox with Wakulla and Godby, I'm assuming this game is going to be on the campus of Childs High School, and I
Let
think
me look
anytime,
at, because typically we get a Thursday game, and this
yeah,
one I believe is a Friday, which could mean that it could be that Godby is taking on one color at Childs.
okay,
But we'll get that straightened out by game time. We'll see where everybody's at. But for
yeah,
Lincoln, I feel like, I don't want to say the pressure's on, but you want to if you're Lincoln, you want to wrap up your district and you want to wrap it up in a hurry, and this is a great way for them to do that. After that, they've got a road contest at Trinity Christian out in Jacksonville. They take on Godby back at home, and then they round the schedule out against Rickards. For Childs, this is one of those where, like, man, you're knocking on the door again. You could make history. It's a tough matchup. All roads go through Lincoln, but this is the team that definitely, because they've snuck up on people all year long, and they've hung around in games, and they've been able to pull away from teams and shock some people along the way. And it maybe no surprises over there on the north side of Tallahassee, but I think this is a team that can definitely. They're feeling like they can hang, and we definitely gonna find out on Friday. But these are the district games you got to win, and they still got for Childs, it's Lincoln bye week, then Leon and Swanee. Man, I know the Timberwolf faithful would love for nothing more than to be able to snatch one and end the season on a high note. These are the reason why we play the game, so we'll see which Lincoln team shows up. If it's the dominant one, again, we talked about this earlier. If you don't set the tone against Lincoln, it could get ugly in a hurry. So this will be going down on Friday night. We'll get those locations straightened out, but that will do it for this week's edition of the Extra Point. Gentlemen, it is, I can't believe we've made it through mid-October already.
yeah. It's exciting, man, and it's going to continue to get even more exciting once we get closer to that time of the year where we start talking about the state playoffs and like the matchups for all of the local Big Bend region teams and how that's I'm excited for that one. I can't wait to be a part of that conversation, playoff talk.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one this Friday night. Please get a chance to check out one of these games. With playoff time coming up very soon, we're going to have some numbers to crunch next week, as these district matchups will have plenty of implications on teams' playoff chances. So this has been the Extra Point. I'm Mark Adams for my tag team partners, Coach Cofield, Eddie Quincas. Big shout out to Andrew Jupe. Be safe on the road, man. We'll catch everybody next week on the Extra Point, fourquartersonline.com.
It say it's still live.
All right, we clear. We should be.